What's up, YouTube? It's RJ with Harbuck Media here to discuss today what equipment should you use if you're just getting started creating videos for your business. Now, before we get into the video, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to do so. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified of all of our upcoming content. If you don't mind, give us a like if you enjoy the video today. And if you have any comments, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you ask a question that deserves a full-length conversation, then we might even turn it into a video and really get into the nitty-gritty details about it. All right, let's get into the video.
Oh, fire and water me, going down this thing. Oh, bury me, carry me. Oh, far beneath. Down to the river.
Okay, so the topic for today, what equipment should you get if you're about to start making videos for your business? If you're wanting to increase your digital marketplace presence and start making videos, what equipment should you get? This is following up our video from last week discussing quality and whether or not it matters. And a lot of what we talked about in that video was that you need to just go ahead and get started and that we can increase your quality over time. So I felt as a natural follow-up to that video that we should discuss what equipment could you use if you are just getting started. And the way I'd like to do that today is I'm going to break it down into three different affordability options. We'll talk about basically free, minimal, a couple $100 expense. Then we'll talk about if you're willing to spend, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. And then we'll talk about spending anywhere up to about $5,000. And the truth is, this even a $5,000 number, even that might sound a little large, but when you're talking about digital camera equipment, it's really not a lot of money. These are still kind of entry level, maybe a little bit higher tier entry level, but still on the beginning stages of just getting set up. And it is important that you do recognize that this stuff can be expensive. So let's get started with the free option, or basically free, maybe a couple $100 in a little bit of equipment. So one of the easiest ways for people to get into this is to use a phone. If you don't have a phone with a good camera, maybe you're just not one of those people who is really into smart devices, although you're probably not watching this video if you're not into smart devices. But if you don't have that, maybe you have a webcam. And if you don't even have that, well, we can get a webcam for fairly cheap. We do want to try to get at least a 1080p webcam. If we're able to, we can even go on up to 4K. The new iPhones, the iPhone 13 and even the 12, they have the ability to film in 4K. Another thing that you might have lying around is an old camera that has the ability to record. Now, when I say old, I don't necessarily mean, 20 years old. I mean 5 years old or so. If you go back too far, then we start to get into lower quality gear. The next thing we need to discuss is audio. You can just capture audio on that device, but one of the things you're going to get is you're going to get room noise. You're going to get all that echo. You're going to pick up whether or not the AC turns on and off. So an affordable option is to go onto Amazon and get something that's called a lavalier microphone, and get one that is compatible with your phone. You can spend anywhere from $15 to $150 if you go this route. Now, I did say phone. So what happens if you're working with a webcam or with a DSLR, your camera that's lying around? Well, most of those DSLRs will accept that same jack, that same input that works on your iPhone. So you could use that lavalier for the same purpose, and then you're still in that $15 to $150 range. If you're working with a webcam, then you might look into using something like your AirPods. Now, obviously, AirPods are on the pricier end. We were talking about a lavalier microphone that's $15 to $150. But if you have some sort of Bluetooth headphones that have built-in microphone, that is an option for you as well. So you could very easily get started with a smartphone that you already have on hand. You could buy a $20 lavalier microphone and you're good to go. You can start recording video wherever you are and capturing halfway decent audio that eliminates some of that background noise. What if you are using that DSLR camera that you've got lying around, or even your webcam? If you're using your webcam, you're going to need to record to something. So you could record to Zoom, or you can get a free subscription with Zoom, and that's a way that you can have interviews, and you can record those interviews. Or you can use something like OBS, which is a free software that you can download, and you can connect your webcam or even your DSLR to with some equipment that you would need to get in addition to convert that camera feed to a digital source, to a USB port. If you're using the DSLR, you can plug that lavalier straight into the camera. Now you're capturing audio and video from the camera straight to your computer on a free software. If you're using a webcam, then you might look at using some sort of USB microphone. You've probably heard of Yeti mics before. There are more expensive options. If you're able to spend closer to $250, you can pick up the Shure MV7. That's a really solid microphone. There are free editing softwares out there if you work with Apple computers. A lot of Apple computers come with iMovie built right in. I think if you have to buy it, it's probably only like $50. Then you start getting into whether or not you should hire an editor. That's a conversation we're going to have at a later date. The cheapest way to go is to use your phone, buy that $20 lavalier, just record straight to your phone, try to get a good take the first try if you can, cut the ends off in your iPhone, and then be done with it. Now, let's say that you have the ability to spend between $1,000, maybe $2,000. This gets you into that DSLR range. We can now start looking at getting a little bit of lighting, getting a lower quality in DSLR, but even with that, we can get 4K DSLRs for sub $1,000. You can get a good quality lens that's going to give you that background blur. You're going to be able to get really close to the lens. It's going to really be able to focus on your face automatically. And so those are options that are available around $1,500 to $2,000. You could get a Sony Alpha 6000, 6100, 6200, 6300. They go all the way up to 6600s. But if you go with that Sony Alpha series, you can be around $700 on up to about $1,500. And depending on which one you get, you can get 4K quality. And then you could get something like the Sigma 16 millimeter with a Sony mount for $350. Again, for your audio, maybe you go with that Shure MV7, $250. And then you can buy desktop lamps like I'm using here for $250 from a brand called Neewer, Neewer. And I'm going to leave some links in the description to help you identify some of this equipment. And so you're just over $2,000. You've got good lighting, you've got good audio, you've got a good camera, and this camera has the ability to go other places too. You don't have to just record to your computer. And Sony is a great company. There are other great companies out there, Canon, Nikon, but Sony in particular has what's called a mirrorless DSLR camera. They really act very well like webcams, but at a much, much, much higher quality. And they just integrate so well with your computers, especially if you are looking at the lowest end, that Sony Alpha 6000. In the last video, we discussed the difference between, say, a Ford dealership and a Mercedes dealership. It would be reasonable for the Ford dealership to use the first option, using a phone and maybe a wireless lavalier, which is more than $20, but still a lavalier microphone, to do their walkthroughs and tutorials of their vehicles. But if we're talking about that Mercedes dealership, really you should be looking at this $2,000 option at a minimum. So hopefully that gives you some sort of reference as you're thinking about your business. If your product or service is considered somewhat of a luxury or a more expensive item, I would highly suggest that you start at least this middle tier of equipment. Now, if we're going to talk about a $5,000 option, there's really two ways we could go. We could go the route of having a professional studio. And so you could go back to using the same equipment in that mid tier, using a Sony Alpha 6000 series camera, that Sigma 16 millimeter, but we could invest more into our lighting. You could go with colored lighting. You could decorate your backdrop. You could get some higher quality overhead lights to better light your face and to light your background. You could go with higher quality audio. This Shure SM7B runs about $400, but is quite honestly probably the best microphone on the market for podcasting. That Shure MV7 that we discussed earlier is the little brother to this microphone, the Shure SM7B. That is an easy way to take that quality to the next level, invest in even more lighting, and invest in a little bit better audio quality. Or you could go the option of getting a better quality camera. Now, this is more for a specific person. If you are the type of person who needs to capture high quality pictures and do high quality video as well, you own a company that makes a product and you need to take pictures of your products to post on your website, but then you'd also like to do tutorials on how to use your products. So what does a higher quality camera entail? Well, without going into too much of a deep dive into camera specifics, the Sony a7S III is one of the most popular cameras on the market right now, and it runs anywhere from $3,500 to $4,000. That is a full frame mirrorless DSLR by Sony that captures in 4K at 60 frames per second, takes phenomenal high quality pictures, upwards of 20 megapixels. And so that is a camera that a lot of YouTubers and people who make professional videos or take professional photography, they might use something like the Sony Alpha 7S III. You probably don't need to invest in that kind of equipment, but there's a lot of cameras between that Sony Alpha 6000 series on up to that Sony Alpha 7 series, specifically the 7S III, which ends up more like $4,000. There's the Sony Alpha 7C, which runs you more like $1,500 to $1,800, which can still capture in 4K. It's still a full frame camera, and so it still takes even better photos and videos than the Sony Alpha 6000 series, but it costs a little bit more. One thing to note, when you transition from what's called a crop sensor, that Alpha 6000, to a full frame, which is that Sony Alpha 7 series, the lenses change too. And you go from being able to spend $350 on a lens to spending more, about $1,000 on a lens. There are lenses that are cheaper than that, and there are lenses that are a lot more expensive than that. Now, the truth is, even that $5,000 number, there's ways to spend a lot more out there. There are some YouTubers who, granted, have a large following, who use cameras that cost $20,000, $30,000 a piece, and that's just for the camera. That's not the lens and the lighting and all that. But most of those people, one, they have made a living creating video content, and then two, a lot of them are competing with other YouTube influencers, and so capturing that incredible image on a $30,000 camera is necessary to keep up with the competition. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. What we are trying to accomplish is taking a business that does not create any video content and moving them to creating some sort of content. So you can get in free, or basically free, with your phone and a lavalier off of Amazon for $15, $20. You can invest in a DSLR camera and the ability to capture that camera on your computer for things like Zoom calls. You can get a nice microphone and some lighting for about $2,000. Or if you've already been doing that for a while, you could up your investment to around $5,000 and get even better lighting, an even better camera, even better lens, even better microphones, and have a more permanent studio setup. I hope this video has helped you today. I know it was a little bit more technical and exhaustive. I might even take these individual tiers and turn them into their own video, doing a deeper dive into specifically what equipment you could use and how you could use it. But I am also going to leave links down in the description to some of this equipment so that you can easily access it and look at it yourself. The brands that I suggest are brands that I have personally worked with and know will do the job. By no means are these three ways the only options for recording your content, but for the average person who just needs to create content, talk about their business, introduce new products, talk to their customers, maybe incorporate videos into their proposals, this is the equipment that you should be looking at. This equipment is going to be the easiest for you to integrate into your lifestyle, into your business. All right, that's it for today. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you're not a subscriber already, please do so and smash that notification bell so that you'll be notified of all of our upcoming content. Leave us a like if you enjoyed the video today and if you found it informative. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Fire and water me, going down deep, sing, oh, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, oh, far beneath. to the river.